Hey, it's Mark's watching MTC Media. Big news if you're a North Carolina Tar Heels fan. Elliot Cadeau has reclassed to 2023, so he will be on this year's roster and be heading to Chapel Hill this fall. Right now, Hubert Davis probably is smiles like a butcher's dog. He gets what many think is really a true point guard. I think he's a double-digit assist guy on EYBL, which you might say, well, yeah, that's AAU, but hold on a second. Most of the time in that space, people are looking more to create their own offense, and he has shared the ball and shown that he can run a team. But overall, how does this impact North Carolina? And I hate to say it, right now where we sit, I don't know if it makes a great impact in this sense. First, we look at Hubert Davis. Is Hubert Davis going to trust and live with a bunch of mistakes from Cadeau when he gets there? Because he's a freshman. I don't care how good you are. He's a freshman primary ball handler. He's going to make mistakes. And before everyone says, oh, well, sure, I'm sure they discussed that before he came. It's one thing to discuss that in the offseason. It's another thing to live up to it if you get off to a slow start when you had a season in Chapel Hill where you didn't make the NCAA tournament. You have a season in Chapel Hill where you came off of being the national champion runner-ups to playing like dogs on a lot of nights. We're still talking about North Carolina proving that they were more of the team in the first half of the season they made their national championship run than they were in March. North Carolina had a magical 6 games, and you noticed last season that didn't carry over. So there's a lot of pressure on Hubert. So we can talk about trust, we can talk about prior conversations, we can talk about all of those things. But truth of the matter is, we're not going to know that until we see how he reacts, especially if North Carolina gets off to a slow start. The other thing is roster construction. North Carolina is still flawed. First, we'll talk about the obvious. They still don't have enough shooting in 2023 to constitute having a point guard like that who won't feel pressure to create his own offense, that he'll find his offense when he needs it because he knows he has all these other spots. You have to have more than R.J. Davis be your shooter. This is not in the 1980s and part of the 1990s where you have one primary jump shooter. This is not how it works, because it's hard to spread the floor in today's basketball if you don't have those guys. Because the other way that you can spread the floor is you do something like Alabama, where you play at this pace and you have wings that can get to the front of the rim. You know what? North Carolina doesn't have those either. They don't have wings who can get in the front of the rim. They don't pressure enough and force pace enough to even get enough easy baskets. So those are my two big concerns for North Carolina, despite this news. Despite the news, which, like I said, is widely good news. But the problems that we saw last season, I don't know where they've been solved. And we're probably not going to know until November. But don't be surprised that if they're not solved, that you're going to see a season like you saw last season. But as far as Cadeau, I'm going to be interested to see if North Carolina gets in that slow start or they're not playing the way they should play. I'm going to see how patient Hubert Davis is going to be and how much trust there is. Because if there's one thing we've seen about Hubert, it doesn't seem like he trusts freshmen. I don't care how many stars are beside their names. It's Marcus Washington from MTC Media.